And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review.
Hey everyone, it's Ryan Metzler here again, and today we're going to be doing yet another Kickstarter preview. And this time we're going to take a look at Colossal Cave, which is a board game for 3 to 4 players in the draw one, play one style of board games. Board games also in this genre that you might be familiar with are Munchkin, Flux, or Chrononauts, and simply revolve around players having a hand of cards from which they will be adding more cards, playing cards each turn, and then finally discarding down to a set hand limit. Now this game adds, in addition to that, a board from which you'll be moving around trying to look for different treasures, using different action cards or reaction cards, in order to grab those treasures, get them back to the start, and deposit them. And each player who is trying to win is going to need 3 different treasures in order to win the game. And obviously you're trying to stop your opponents from collecting treasures while you're collecting your own. As I said, this is a Kickstarter title, so the components you're looking at are going to be prototype quality components. They are not by any means final components. But real quick, why don't we take a look at what comes inside the box right now. We'll take a look at how the game plays really quickly, and then I'll come back here and give you some more information about the game and how you can help fund it. So here you can see the components for Colossal Cave. Now this is a game, as I said earlier, based on the 1970s or 1980s style of text adventure, meaning that you're going to be adventurers moving throughout rooms trying to solve puzzles, or in this case trying to get treasure and return it back to the well house, the first room. On your turn you're going to do several things. The first thing you're going to do is draw a card. Each player will have a hand of cards that they're using to try and best collect these treasures and get them back to the well house. After that, you'll be able to move one space. So let's say the green player decided to move from the well house to Cobble Crawl. And then after that, you're going to play a card from your hand of cards. And there are several different types of cards you can play: actions, items, treasures, and reactions. Now these cards all have different types of effects, and reactions are actually played on other players' turns, but you could play a card from your hand in order to try and accomplish some type of effect. So for example, we have Pirate Booty. This is a card which will let you get a treasure, but in order to play it, you have to be in the maze of twisty passages, which are all alike, which is down here. And it says, in the maze of twisty passages, all alike, you can acquire any one treasure from the discard pile, and then discard 3 cards. Now, if you can't discard 3 cards, you can't do this, but if you do have the 3 cards, you play this card, discard 3, and then you can pick up a treasure. For example, the Ming Vase, and this would go in front of you, and then you would try and take it back to the well house to deposit it, which would be your action for the turn on which you arrived in the well house. There are other types of actions. For example, we have, you are carrying too much already. On your turn, you can choose to play this card, and it says you have to drop something, and each player must immediately discard all but 3 of the cards in their hand. So this is a way to get cards out of players' hands. A third type of action is something like Angry Dwarf, and all of these cards are different, so there's a lot of these different actions in the deck, but we have the Angry Dwarf. This one says, choose a player who is not in the well house. That player dies. Now dying in this game is not a terminal thing. Dying is temporary. And when you die, you simply lose your hand of cards, so you would discard your hand of cards. You lose any treasures that you are currently carrying, not the ones you've deposited from the well house, and then you will basically end your turn there. So you lose your hand, you lose treasures, but you keep any non-treasure items. And you're going to be able to start the next turn back in the well house. You'll get a new hand of cards and you'll continue on your way. So it's just a temporary delay. But note, there are a couple of cards in the deck that can kill you, like this one. However, there are cards that counter cards like this. So for example, we have this item. On your turn instead, you could have played an item, and then if somebody decides to play the Angry Dwarf on you, you are safe. So for example, we have the little axe. It says playable anywhere except for the well house. So you can't play it when you're standing in the well house, but you could play it anywhere else. And if you have this out, it says defends against the Angry Dwarf. If the Angry Dwarf were used on you, which obviously somebody wouldn't want to do since you're safe from it, but if they did, you wouldn't be affected. Now the other types of cards, we have reactions. This one is called Lost in the Maze. And what this happens is it says you play it out of turn when somebody attempts to leave the maze of twisty passages, which are all different. We look here, that's this room. If someone tries to leave that room, you can play this card, and essentially the player, their turn immediately ends, they cannot move out of the room. So, There are several cards like this. There are other reaction cards that stop people from doing things or prevent them from moving, prevent them from playing a treasure, all kinds of things. Lots of reaction cards to play out of turn. Finally, we have the important cards, and I showed you this one earlier. We have treasures, like the Ming Vase. You can only play this card in the bed quilt, which is a room over here on the left-hand side of the board. A lot of cards have requirements as to where you can play them, but you find this treasure in the bed quilt, and now you need to make your way back into the well house to deposit it. But people are going to try and stop you. For example, the action Drop Vase, which says you play this card and the Ming Vase gets taken from in front of another player and is discarded. So if you have the Ming Vase, you're on your way back, somebody plays this on their turn, you can no longer carry it. But if you happen to have the velvet pillow in your area, you are safe from having to drop the Ming Vase. So now you are protected a little bit, and maybe you can get back and deposit it, being 1/3 of the way towards winning the game. After you've done that, you're going to check and see if you have 7 cards. If you have more than 7 cards, discard down, and the next player will go. The game will continue on in this manner until one player manages to get 3 treasures back to the well house and deposit them all, and that player will be the winner. And there you have it. That is Colossal Cave. Now, as I said, and as you've probably known from the beginning of this video, this is a Kickstarter title, and the people developing it are looking for support. If this game sounds interesting to you, why don't you head on over to their Kickstarter site, which there will be a link to underneath this video, and you can help pledge towards the game. Now, the rewards they're offering are everything from a copy of the game, multiple copies of the game, limited edition artwork, Kickstarter promos. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, and the game looks like something that you might enjoy, head on over. I'm sure they'd be glad to have your pledge.